The stars were quiet, too quiet. For weeks, the United Planetary Alliance had been losing. They had tried everything: new weapons, different tactics, secret plans, but nothing worked. The enemy, the Varkan swarm, was too strong. The Varkan weren't like other alien species. They didn't talk. They didn't stop. They didn't take prisoners. They only attacked, consumed, and moved on. Whole planets were gone. Entire species erased. They'd moved like a flood, destroying everything in their path. Now, only one stronghold remained: Iran Prime. It was the last defense line between the swarm and the core worlds of the galaxy. If Iran Prime fell, the war would be over, and the galaxy would belong to the Varkan. Inside the deep command bunker of Iran Prime, Admiral Kezran stood over the war table. He was from the Acceleri race, a wise and experienced leader. His 6 eyes scanned the holographic screen showing red dots, each one a Varkan ship. "There are over 8,000 enemy ships," a young officer said, voice shaking. Kezran didn't respond. He just stared at the screen. Beside him, General Hero of the Tharn army growled, "We still have human destroyers in orbit. Maybe they can hold." Kezran turned his head sharply. "They are outnumbered 20-1. They can't stop this." The room went quiet. Everyone knew the truth. The humans were strong, maybe the strongest fighters in the galaxy. But even they had not sent their full fleet. They had only sent patrol ships, small carriers, and a few destroyers. Not their best, not their full power. No one knew why. Some thought Earth was waiting. Others believed humanity had given up on the Alliance. After all, Earth had stayed silent for years, sending only a few ships to help. And now, it was probably too late. Outside, the sky began to glow red. The Varkan swarm had arrived. Thousands of sharp, black ships tore through the stars like blades. They didn't fly in formation. They flew like a storm, wild and fast. The orbital defense grid opened fire. Lasers lit up the sky. Missiles screamed through the air, but it wasn't enough. One by one, the Alliance ships in orbit exploded. The human destroyers fought hard, but they were surrounded. Their shields broke. Their hulls cracked. From the planet below, civilians saw the battle in the sky. What they saw made their hearts sink. Fire, smoke, falling wreckage. Hope was dying. Back in the command center, Kezran gave the final order. "Begin evacuation. Get as many civilians off-world as you can." "But sir," an officer started to argue. "There's no more time," Kezran said, his voice flat. "We've lost." General Hero slammed his fist on the table. "There is nowhere to run. No planet is safe after this." No one replied. Silence filled the bunker. And then, a sound. A signal. Every screen flickered. Every speaker crackled. Then a voice came through. "This is Earth Command. Hold your position. We are en route. ETA. 6 minutes." Everyone froze. Did they hear that right? General Hero looked at Kezran. "Earth Command. Is this a joke?" Kezran's eyes widened. "Check the source." The tech officer scanned the signal. "It's real, sir. It's coming from deep space. Human encryption." Then another message came through, clear and strong. "This is Task Force Titanborn. We are entering Iran's system. Stand by for reinforcements." The room exploded with noise. "Titanborn." Someone whispered. "That's not possible. That fleet was decommissioned a century ago. They said it was locked away." Another officer said, "Too dangerous. Too powerful." Now, long-range scanners showed something shocking. 300 massive warships were entering the system. Huge, silent, covered in black armor. Some were as big as moons. These were not normal ships. These were Earth's oldest, most feared weapons. Titanborn was not a myth. It was real. The fleet had been hidden, deep in dark space, sleeping since the old wars. And now it was awake. "By the stars," General Hero whispered. Admiral Kezran stared at the display. The red wave of Varkan ships was closing in on the planet. But behind them, something even more terrifying was arriving. The humans hadn't given up. They had just been waiting. Now, the real war was about to begin. The Varkan were broken. Not just beaten, but shattered. Their endless swarm was falling apart, piece by piece, under the unstoppable might of Earth's final weapon, Project Thundrwel. In space, the Titan-born fleet pressed forward. No longer just defending, they were hunting. The massive black warships, glowing with ancient Earth tech, led the charge. The Varkan's new insect-like superships tried to regroup, but the quantum pulses and missile strikes tore through their formations like a storm. Captain Miles Ward's ground forces cleared city after city. The streets of Iran Prime were still scared from battle, but the infected creatures were gone. Ward stood among the ruins, exhausted but alive. He looked up at the sky where the stars shone cold and clear again. "Is it over?" his second-in-command asked quietly. Ward shook his head. "Not yet," he said. "The Varkan might be down, but they're not finished. We have to finish this." Back on the Oblivion, Admiral Rhea Cole watched the fleet's progress. Her eyes were tired but sharp. She turned to her crew and said, "The Varkan believed we were weak. They thought their endless swarm would crush us. They forgot what it means to fight for home." Her voice was steady, full of pride. "We are Titan-born. We are Earth's sword and shield. And today, we show the galaxy what humanity truly means." In the command bunker on Iran Prime, Admiral Kezran and General Hero prepared their final orders. Hero spoke first, voice low and serious. "We have reports from across the system. The Varkan hives are collapsing. Their biolinks are dying. Their commanders are losing control." Kezran nodded. "Then it's time." Kezran gave the order to deploy the final wave. From hidden Titan-born shipyards came the last secret weapon, massive starships called the Judicators. These were not just war machines. They were factories of destruction, capable of launching thousands of microdrones. These drones could seek and destroy every last Varkan hive on any planet. The Judicators moved through space like living storms. With the final wave, the Titan-born fleet became a cleansing fire. One by one, Varkan worlds fell. The swarm that had once terrified the galaxy was now fleeing, hiding in forgotten corners of space. On Earth, High Command watched with quiet satisfaction. The message was clear. Humanity had returned, and it would never back down again. Captain Ward led the final ground push. His soldiers moved forward with the hope of all humanity behind them. They were the shield for the innocent, the sword for the weak, and the last line of defense for a galaxy that once believed hope was lost. As the Varkan hives collapsed, Ward spoke into his comlink. "This is Captain Ward. To anyone still fighting, surrender now. Humanity's wrath is just beginning, but so is its mercy." The Varkan did not answer. They had no choice. The war was over. Or was it? In the dark depths of space, far from any star, a single ship moved silently. Its hull was black, its shape unlike any known design. Inside, a shadowy figure watched the broadcasts of the Titan-born victory. Its voice was cold. "Earth has awakened. The swarm has been broken. But this is not the end. It is only the beginning." The figure smiled. "Prepare. The true war begins now." The galaxy was silent. After the crushing defeat of the Varkan swarm, peace seemed within reach. But Captain Ward knew better. The war they just fought was only the surface. Far beyond the last battlefields, in the dark cold of space, a shadow moved. A ship unlike any other, black as the void, slipped through hidden wormholes. Inside, a figure watched humanity's victory with cold, calculating eyes. "Earth has shown its power," the figure whispered. but it knows nothing of what waits beyond. Back on Earth, Admiral Rhea Cole received strange signals. Ancient codes, buried deep in the stars, suddenly flickered alive. She gathered her top commanders. "This is no simple attack," she said. "Something older than the Varkan stirs, something we cannot ignore." Captain Ward stood beside her, his mind racing. "We won a great battle," he said, "but we may have awakened a new enemy." Deep in Titan-born space, the Judicators hummed quietly, their drones resting after the final wave. But their sensors detected strange energy readings. Signals with patterns too complex to be natural. Signals that spoke of a coming storm. The shadowy figure's voice echoed through the darkness. "Prepare for the awakening. The true war is coming, and humanity will face what it has never faced before." Earth's greatest fleet ready for what lay ahead. The galaxy held its breath, because the war was not over. It was only just beginning. The silence in space was heavy, almost unnatural. After the warning signals and mysterious energy bursts, Earth's fleet moved cautiously. Captain Miles Ward stood on the bridge of the flagship Oblivion, staring at the dark expanse ahead. "Admiral Cole," he said, "whatever is coming, we need to be ready." Admiral Rhea Cole nodded, her face serious. "Agreed. This isn't just another enemy. This is something older, stronger, something that survived before the Varkan even existed." The shadowy figure watched from afar. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light of their ship. "Humanity thinks it has won," the figure whispered, "but it is just the start of their trial." Suddenly, the stars ahead began to flicker. Energy pulses surged through space like waves. Then, without warning, massive shapes emerged from the darkness. Colossal ships, ancient and powerful, rose like ghosts from a long-forgotten war. Their weapons glowed with blue fire, and their shields shimmered with unknown energy. The fleet braced for impact. Captain Ward gave the order. "Battle stations. This is not the end. It is the true beginning." Explosions lit the void as the ancient fleet attacked. But humanity was ready. Titan-born war machines and Earth's old weapon systems worked together flawlessly. The battle was fierce, with stars exploding in flashes of light. Admiral Cole shouted commands as the Oblivion fired volleys of quantum missiles. Captain Ward led boarding teams, ready to fight in the dark corridors of the enemy ships. The enemy fought back with ancient technology that bent reality itself. But Earth's will was stronger. After hours of brutal combat, the ancient fleet faltered. Their leader's ship burned, drifting silently in space. The shadowy figure's voice echoed one last time. "This war is far from over, but humanity has proven it can face the darkness." As the dust settled, Ward and Cole knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity was awake, and it was ready for whatever came next. Space was quiet again. Too quiet. After the defeat of the ancient enemy, humanity stood victorious. But uneasy, something felt unfinished. On the edge of the Andromeda Rift, deep in uncharted space, an old relay beacon suddenly activated. The signal it sent was not Varkan, not ancient tech, it was something far worse. Admiral Rhea Cole listened to the decoded message on the bridge of the Oblivion. Her face went pale. Designation: Observer Class Entity detected. Location: Rift Sector 9 Theta. Status: Watching. Captain Ward entered the command room moments later. "What is it?" he asked. Cole turned slowly to him. "We were being watched. The whole time." The message repeated on loop, a voice not human, not machine. "They survived. Humanity has evolved." Proceeding with Phase 2. Suddenly, across multiple sectors, jump gates ignited without authorization. From them came nothing, just empty space. But the scanners screamed. Ships, hundreds of them, cloaked in dimensional shrouds, approached silently. No weapons visible, No known structure. At first, it looked like the Varkan were broken. Thousands of their ships had been wiped out in minutes by the Titan-born fleet. Huge dreadnoughts exploded. Swarm clusters shattered. The sky above Aeron Prime was filled with burning wreckage. But the Varkan were not like other enemies. They didn't run. They didn't panic. They adapted. Inside the command bunker of Aeron Prime, Admiral Kezran stared at the new data flashing across the screen. "They're changing their formation," he said slowly. "Pulling back." "No, they're regrouping." General Hero growled. "They've never done that before. They've always charged forward." "They've never faced Titan-born before," Kezran said grimly. Up in orbit, the battlefield shifted. The Varkans stopped their wild attacks. They pulled back from the Titan-born's firing range. Then, something new happened. From deep space, a different kind of Varkan ship arrived. These were massive, dark red ships shaped like insects, with long legs and sharp claws. They were surrounded by strange energy fields that seemed to absorb light. The scanners couldn't read them. Even the Titan-born fleet hesitated for a moment. Admiral Rhea Cole stood silently on the bridge of the Oblivion, watching the new enemy ships appear. "Report," she ordered. "New class detected. Unknown to all databases. Varkan origin confirmed. We count 65 of them. Size: each one is larger than our battleships, Admiral. And they're spreading spores. Something is being launched toward the planet." Cole's eyes narrowed. "They're trying to infect the surface." The Varkan were not just fighters. They were eaters. Life forms, planets, machines. It didn't matter. If they couldn't win in space, they would rot the ground below. On Aeron Prime, civilians screamed as glowing pods began to fall from the sky. They landed in the outer cities with a wet, sickening thud. Then the pods opened. Inside were creatures, Varkan bio-warriors, tall and twisted. Their bodies were black, their arms like blades, and their mouths wide with teeth. They began tearing through buildings. Screams echoed in the streets. Admiral Kezran watched the reports in horror. "They're launching a full infection wave. They're going to turn this planet into a nest." Hero shouted, "We need ground support now." Then, another signal came through. "This is Captain Miles Ward, 12th Titan-born Ground Division. Touching down now." Huge thunder boomed across the skies of Aeron Prime. Titan-born dropships roared through the atmosphere. Each one was a flying fortress, loaded with old-style human mechs, tanks, and soldiers in thick exosuits. When they landed, the ground shook, and then the fighting began. The first wave of human ground troops moved like a wall. Their armor was dark steel, marked with the Titan-born eagle. Their weapons were heavy, fast, and brutal. Captain Ward stood at the front, holding a rail cannon that was almost too big for a normal man. But he wasn't normal. Titan-born soldiers were elite, trained in silence, raised for battle, and deadly in every way. His voice crackled over the local comms. "Protect the civilians. Purge the infestation. Burn every nest." The human forces moved fast. Varkan bio-warriors rushed at them, screaming. The humans didn't flinch. They opened fire. The sound was like thunder. Explosions lit the streets. Alien blood sprayed across buildings. Tanks rolled over infected zones, firing plasma shells that turned the ground into fire. In the sky, the Titan-born fleet kept shooting the spore ships, destroying them before they could drop more pods. But there were too many. Back on the Oblivion, Admiral Cole watched as the Varkan superships moved into new positions. "They're coordinating," she said. "They're targeting our flanks." Suddenly, the Black Dawn was hit. A beam of red energy from one of the new Varkan ships slammed into its side. The shields cracked. The hull buckled. Systems failed. It began to drift. "Get emergency teams on Black Dawn," Cole shouted. "Form a shield wall around it." 3 other Titan-born ships moved in to protect the damaged vessel. They fired back with full force. Another Varkan war beast exploded, but more kept coming. The battle was changing again. For the first time, Titanborn was taking real damage. The Varkan weren't just monsters. They were learning. Admiral Kezran said what everyone was thinking. This may not be a battle anymore. General Hero asked. Then what is it? Kezran answered, his voice cold. It's the beginning of the last war. The sky above Aeron Prime had turned into fire. Thousands of Varkan ships circled the planet like vultures. They fired nonstop, tearing apart what was left of the orbital defense. Alliance ships were either destroyed or running. No one expected to survive. But then, the stars behind the Varkan fleet began to shift. It started with a hum, a deep, strange sound that echoed through space itself. Admiral Kezran stared at the scanner. His 6 eyes narrowed. What is that? The officer at the console looked confused. Gravitational disturbances, sir. Something big is coming through. A second later, the long-range display flashed. 1, 2, 10, 50, 100. 300 new signals entered the system. No one in the command bunker could believe it. Each signal was a ship, massive, armored, and unknown to the Alliance database. But they weren't unknown to Earth. They were human. The fleet moved in complete silence. No lights, no calls, no warnings. The Varkan didn't even react at first. They didn't see the fleet as a threat. Then the first ship decloaked. It was called the HMS Oblivion, nearly the size of a small moon. Black steel, red markings, covered in weapon ports, turrets, and strange energy fields that pulsed with ancient power. On its side were 5 glowing words: Titanborn, 001, Oblivion class. The other ships began to appear around it, one after another. HNS Wrath, ENS Judgment, ENS Black Dawn, ENS Stonewall, ENS Reaper. Each one was larger, heavier, and older than anything seen in the last 100 years. Kezran whispered, This is Earth's hidden fleet. A voice came through the command center speakers again. This is Admiral Rhea Cole of the Titanborn fleet. You are not alone. Stand by. The voice was calm, clear, and full of quiet strength. On board the Oblivion, Admiral Cole stood on her command deck. She wore the old Earth Navy uniform, black and silver, with a golden hawk on her chest. Her hair was gray, her eyes sharp. She had seen wars most had only read about. Status report, she said. Varkan fleet is surrounding Aeron Prime. Over 8,000 hostiles. They're feeding off the planet's energy. Civilian population is still present. Admiral Cole didn't flinch. Target every capital-class Varkan ship within the first engagement zone. Fire on my mark. Target locked. The entire Titanborn fleet shifted into formation. Like one living machine, they moved with purpose. And then, Cole raised her hand. Fire. What happened next would be remembered forever. The Titanborn fleet opened fire. Not with standard weapons, but with weapons from Earth's forgotten past. Beams of white-hot plasma, kinetic rounds the size of buildings, rail cannons that shattered space-time. The first Varkan dreadnought exploded in one shot. Then another. Then 3 more. The Varkan had never known fear, but now they didn't understand what was happening. Their ships were being torn apart before they could even respond. One of their swarm clusters tried to rush the Black Dawn. Bad idea. Black Dawn released its defensive grid, a spinning ring of automated guns that created a wall of fire. Hundreds of Varkan ships entered the zone. None came out. Back in the Aeron Prime command bunker, everyone was speechless. General Hero whispered, They're winning. Kezran's mouth hung open. They're not just winning. They're overwhelming them. Above the planet, Titanborn warships moved like silent judges. They didn't speak. They didn't ask for help. They just destroyed the enemy. Admiral Cole's voice returned on the speakers. Begin evacuation procedures. We will hold the sky. No one had ever spoken like that to the Alliance before. So calm, so sure. But now they understood something. Earth had never been asleep. Earth had been watching, waiting, preparing. And now, when the galaxy was at its lowest, the humans had returned. Not with speeches, not with hope, with power, with fire, with Titanborn. The stars were quiet, too quiet. Captain Laura Venn of the Virelian medical cruiser Hope's Light stared at the emergency screen. The ship floated near the edge of the Andari Void, far from any major space routes. They had come to help a small farming colony suffering from a viral outbreak. But what they found was far worse. Her comms officer, a young Ritheri named Jex, turned to her with pale eyes. "Captain, the entire colony is gone. Buildings destroyed. No life signs. Just one signal, repeating." Laura stepped closer. "Let me hear it." Jex tapped a control. The speaker crackled. "To any vessel, please, help us. They're coming back. We have no weapons. We're not soldiers. This is Medical Post Thalmine. Please, anyone." The voice was human. That was strange. Earth hadn't sent aid beyond the Orion sectors in over a decade. After pulling out of the Galactic Union, humans had gone quiet, isolated, cold, and dangerous when provoked. Many species whispered rumors that Earth had grown bitter and powerful. Jex looked nervous. "Captain, the signal's 3 hours old. It came from a human-operated outpost. Civilians, doctors, mostly, and children." Before Laura could respond, another officer shouted, "Unknown vessels on the long-range scope. 4 of them. Fast, armed, not responding to hails." She felt her stomach twist. "Pirates," she muttered. But Jex shook his head. "Not pirates. The signatures are Kargathi. Warships." Laura's hands turned to fists. The Kargathi were known slavers, monsters in armor. They had attacked peaceful colonies before, but targeting a medical post with children, it was a war crime. Suddenly, the signal changed. A new message played. "This is Dr. Elias Rohn. If anyone hears this, we are under attack. The Kargathi are breaching the outer gate. We don't have much time. We've sent a burst signal to Earth. We don't know if they'll answer." The message cut with a scream and static. The entire bridge fell silent. Jex broke the quiet. "Do we try to help?" Laura looked at the map. Her ship wasn't armed. They couldn't fight a single warship, let alone 4. But if Earth truly received the message, "Plot a course away from the system," she said. "We'll hide behind the asteroid ring. Keep the signal channel open. Let's see if Earth answers." Minutes passed, then an hour. Still nothing. Some of the crew had begun to whisper. "The humans won't come," one muttered. "They've turned their backs on the galaxy." Laura was about to agree, when the signal monitor lit up like a sun. "New contacts." Jex gasped. "Coming in fast. 12. No, 15 ships. Transponder code, Terran Fleet Command." The bridge froze. A massive shape broke through subspace just outside the asteroid ring. A warship unlike any they had ever seen. Its hull was jet black, bristling with weapons. The name blazed in red across its side. "TSS Retribution." A voice came over open comms. Calm. Cold. "This is Admiral Kenzo of the Terran First Fleet. We received your distress signal. Stand by. We are responding." Jex's hands shook. "Earth, they actually came." Laura swallowed, her voice barely a whisper. "No, they didn't just come." She looked out the window as more ships arrived. Heavy cruisers, destroyers, carriers. They came with an armada. The footage spread like wildfire. Across thousands of star systems, people watched in silence as human warships ripped through the Kargathi fleet like paper. There were no long speeches, no warnings, Just action. Fast, brutal, and final. On the Galactic Council floor, the delegates of over 200 species sat frozen. Screens above them replayed the same moment again and again. The TSS Retribution firing once, and the Kargathi flagship vanishing in a burst of pure light. Councillor Veseri of the Yulith Republic stood up slowly. When was the last time Earth deployed a war fleet of that size? Her aide replied quietly, 71 years ago, during the siege of Juno's Spiral. And how did that end? 6 enemy fleets destroyed. In one day. A low murmur swept the chamber. For decades, the Council had treated humans as unpredictable. Dangerous, yes, but distant. After Earth withdrew from galactic politics, many leaders breathed easier. Now, Earth was back, and no one was breathing easy anymore. On a quiet moon in the neutral zone, a Kargathi survivor limped into a smuggler bar, bleeding and burned. He slammed his hand on the counter. You said the humans were weak. You said they wouldn't fight. The bartender, a grizzled Karn trader, blinked slowly. That's what we all thought. The Kargathi warrior pointed to his half-melted armor. They didn't fight like before. They didn't shout or threaten. They just came. They destroyed us before I even understood what was happening. The Karn leaned closer. That's the old Earth, the real Earth, the one we thought went silent. He looked around the bar, but they weren't silent. They were watching, waiting. A Sarn diplomat sitting nearby asked, waiting for what? The Sarn downed a drink, for someone to cry for help. Back aboard the Retribution, Admiral Kenzo stood in the war room with his officers. Screens displayed galactic news, enemy fleet movements, and growing panic. He turned to an older woman with gray eyes. Commander Alina Roan. Your brother sent the signal, Kenzo said. She nodded. Elias always believed the galaxy still needed us. Even after the Council pushed us out, he stayed, helped build that outpost, protected the children. She swallowed. He didn't think Earth would come. Kenzo looked at her with steel in his voice. But we did. He turned to the map. Red zones were lighting up, pirate factions, warlords, rogue empires, all suddenly quiet. They're afraid, Alina said. They should be, Kenzo replied. We came to save lives. He tapped the console. But we'll burn the stars if we have to. On the edge of Union space, a cloaked probe recorded the last message from the Terran fleet before it jumped to its next destination. To any who harm the innocent, to those who prey on the weak, know this: humanity has returned, and we are not alone. The probe sent the message, and across the stars, everyone listened.